We are well into 2025. Are we? We are. There we are. We're well into 2025 now. The SJHL season is officially, I think, in the second half, and it's time for SJHL Weekly, presented by UPL. I'm your host, Clark Monroe, and it might look a little bit different today. This is not the typical look that we have, and it is because we are at the beautiful showroom of Capital GNC here in Regina, part of Capital Auto Mall, obviously a big partner of the SJHL, and because the trade deadline has come and gone, and they are our official trade sponsor, we have to do the trade deadline show here at Capital GMC. So we're super excited to be here. They've been great so far hosting us, and we're really excited to dive in to a lot of information today on the show. A big recap. There was 9 games over the weekend, so we'll get into all of that. We're going to announce players of the week, as we normally do later on in the show, and we're going to be joined by General Manager of Capital GMC, Jay Paul, a little bit later in the show as well. So very excited for that. But before we get too far into the show, because we do have a lot to get to, we have to talk about all of our sponsors. Of course, our big sponsor today, Capital Auto Mall and Capital GMC specifically, because we're here in the beautiful lobby. Jordan, if you could show off the lobby again of the showroom, just to show everybody what we're dealing with here. Look at these beautiful cars. There are 400 vehicles on this lot that they're looking to move out, and there's a ton of great deals going on. Again, we're going to talk to the general manager, Jay Paul, later about some of those deals and some of the things that they've got going on. Borgo, Cantera Seeds, Chevrolet, Sask Lotteries, Saskatchewan Construction Safety Association, Nutrien, Tourism Saskatchewan, Sask Energy, UPL, SGEU, Great Western, SGI, and RBC. Thanks to all of our sponsors, of course. We wouldn't be here without them, literally, because this is one of our sponsors' home bases. And speaking of we wouldn't be here, the we in this conversation is Rory McGoran to my left and Jamie Neugebauer to my farther left, voice of the Broncos and voice of the Hounds. Gentlemen, welcome in. This is an exciting day.
Yeah, they're really doing marvels with green screens nowadays, right? To provide us with this type of atmosphere and backdrop.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
Media for all your green screen needs. We can even green screen live locations. Absolutely.
During the playoffs, the finals last year, I was flying around all over the place. I knew I could use a green screen to do something like this. I would have loved that.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
Yeah, or we're in Capital GMC today. Or are we?
Or are we? We are.
We are.
We literally are.
We're not going to play
we'll go
that
shopping later. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, Rory's already been doing some
There's
shopping.
one behind me.
There's a bow.
Like,
yeah, right behind Rory. There's a bow on that one. He might be taking that one home today. I don't know. Careful. But before we get started, if you're watching on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, make sure you're hitting all the buttons. Like, share, send in some comments. We want to hear from you today. Today, obviously, with our show being a little bit set up a little bit differently, we might not have as much of the comments and stuff going on. I think they're going to have it set up in the back at the other location. We have so many locations going on today, but still send in your comments. We want to hear from you, and if we can't get it to you during the show, we'll get to you after the show. We'll come back and check them out. But we have a lot to get into, so let's look at the storylines from the weekend. It is the recap, of course. We're going to start with Friday. There was only one game. There were supposed to be 2. We had some bus issues, so we only ended up playing 1 game. But of course, Melville did beat Estevan 4-2 on Friday night. And then into Saturday, there was 5 games, so it was a bit of a bigger day there. Battleford's with a 3-1 win over Melville. Weyburn snuck away. It seems like a weird thing to say in a 6-4 game, but they snuck away with a 6-4 win over Notre Dame. Flin Flon with its big 2-1 win over Humboldt. What a game that was. Kindersley snuck out with a 2-0 shutout win over Nipawin, and then Melfort 5-1 against the Yorkton Terriers. That was a big game, obviously, with 2 heavyweight teams. And then on Sunday, we had 3 games. Look at that top one, guys. 15 goals scored between Yorkton and Battlefords. Not overly surprised. 10-5 for Yorkton in that one. Flin Flon with a 4-2 victory over Humboldt to kind of cap off the back-to-back weekend. And then Kindersley, they came out to play in this one, 7-1 win over Nipawin. So, guys, obviously, the big reason we're here today is the trade deadline, but let's just quickly talk about the weekend. Rory, maybe I'll start with you. Let's go with Flin Flon Humboldt to start with, because I thought that was a really good kind of back-to-back series. Can you talk to me about what happened in those 2 games?
Yeah, 100%. And right across the league, it was actually quite crazy to see right out of the gates a lot of these trade acquisitions that we're going to be talking about later on in the show. Immediate impacts. I think 4, maybe 5 players that moved teams scored goals on their opening weekend for their new team. So really cool. Flin Flon and Humboldt, playoff-like atmosphere in Game 1. It was the 3rd straight game between the 2 teams that was separated by just 1 goal. Same thing we've been saying for the Humboldt Broncos for the last little while, creeping in to the final month of 2024 and then creeping into 2025, is that, just maybe lacking a little bit of confidence and that ability to find wins when the game doesn't bounce your way a certain portion of it, and then, they go and get a goalie like Daza, though, and he immediately shored up what they think is a goalie insufficiency in game one, stopping 42 of 44, making the first 2 saves of the game, both on breakaways, one to Joey Lees, the Flin Flon native, and then the other one to the leading scorer of the Flin Flon Bombers in Ryder Ringer. So Daza came out, he put on a show for the fans, and confidence, if that's what you're lacking, it often bleeds from the net out. So hopefully 2 games where he had a 915, 920 save percentage combined, albeit lost both games to the hottest team, if not outside of Melfort in the SJHL, the Flin Flon Bombers. You got to start now believing in your goaltending, believing in your system. There was a lot of positives for Humboldt, the third period in game 2, but then there was a lot of things that you were just like, God, they just need to click, they need to get hot, and then they can be dangerous. But right now, a little bit of confidence issues, a little bit of struggling in learning ways to come back in games where it's not going your way. But how do you do that? You get a goaltender, and Daza was incredible.
Yeah, when I look at this Humboldt roster, Rory, Clark, what I think about is a very good hockey team. Like, there's the pieces that you want. There's speed, there's talent, there's guys who are character, do whatever it takes to win. You have Jacob Streetsy, one of the best pure scorers in the SJHL. It just seems like they're missing connectivity, maybe a little bit of confidence. And you get a goalie, as you mentioned, like Daza, that makes everybody else play free. Maybe a guy like Trey Fouquet, Oakley McElwain, they feel like they can take a few more chances. Ryder Knutson up on the rush. And I think, I think still Humboldt will be fine, especially with the roster they have.
Yeah, they've lost their games in hand, right? They've lost their games in hand over LaRonge, so now you know exactly where you are. And we always talk about games in hand, they only matter if you win them. The Broncos didn't. So now it's the same game amount to played and 1 point separating that playoff line. Melville's had a little struggle, so there's 3 teams now kind of jockeying for that last position, with Kindersley moving up now. They've been hot, so they're moving out of that separation. And you're kind of looking at Melville, Humboldt, LaRonge for 7 and 8. 2 spots remaining. Estevan wants to get back in. Notre Dame's still making a push, but that's what we look at the standings. For the Flin Flon Bombers, I want to talk about, though, we're talking about the Broncos not playing with confidence. Is there any team playing with more confidence than Flin Flon?
Yeah.
Yes, they're not the roller coaster, hang on to your seat type of ride that they were last year, but maybe even a more complete team, a more deeper team, a more structured team, and one that's playing with amples of confidence. They're not afraid to take a penalty. They know they're going to kill it. They're not afraid if they're down. They know they're going to come back. They trust their goaltender. I loved what I saw through 6 periods from Flin Flon.
Well, you know what? Like, you talk more to me when I'm building a team. If I want to build my ultimate hockey team.
Reminder, we are in a car dealership. So if there are car noises going on, we can't help it. We're in a car dealership. They're selling cars here, folks.
The important thing is not to have a team full of superstars. The important thing is to have guys in the right seats on the bus. Talked about this before. You want scorers at the top, yes. You want your super minute munching D, yes. You want to know where guys match up, where guys don't have bad attitudes, where guys are competing, where there's the right level of discomfort about whether you're in the lineup every night or not, because there's a guy in the crowd that could do that job well too. So it's just a perfect blend right now in Flin Flon. And yes, Melfort's playing great, having a great year, number 2 in the SJHL rankings. I would argue Flin Flon is playing better hockey right now than Melfort. Obviously, Melfort can go out and win 100-0 next game, and nobody would bat an eyelash.
Yeah.
But just the way that Flin Flon's culture and the way that Mike Reagan has them going as a collective is very impressive. Yeah,
and there were some other series obviously this weekend as well. Again, we're here for really the trade deadline talk. There's so much that we need to get into. So, pardon us if we skip a little topic here or there. Well, that's not our intention, but obviously there are some big stuff to get to. But one more before we go. Obviously, Weyburn coming out with a big win against Notre Dame. Nugsy, you were calling that game. We don't have to get into too deep of detail about that, but Ethan DK with a hat trick. Weyburn now sits in 4th place. They have a game tomorrow night. If they win that one, they'll move into 3rd place. The top of the standings, we talked about the standings. Actually, let's bring up the standings really quick if you guys don't mind. After the weekend, this is how we're looking right now. Obviously, Melfort had a double-digit cushion coming into the weekend. They don't anymore. They have a 9-point cushion for 1st place. Oh, no. Look out. Panic button time in Melfort? No, they're fine. But Flin Flon, like you said, is riding a hot streak right now. Yorkton's playing so well lately, but Weyburn's right there with them, and Battleford's is right there with them too. So that 4-team window now, and if you include Kindersley now, because there is about a 5-team window for that second tier, because Kindersley's right there after 2 wins over Nipawin. If we can bring up the division standings now, just to see how the teams are doing in their past 10 games. I always like looking at this one. As you can see, Yorkton is red hot, 8-2 in their last 10. Melfort's 9-1 in their last 10. Kindersley, look at them guys, 7-0-1. Don't sleep on the Clippers, and they made one of the biggest splashes on the trade deadline, so we'll get to that momentarily. And then Flin Flon there again, 8-0-1 in their last 10 games. The rest of the league, well, they got to figure some stuff out, because like Battleford's, we talk about how good Battleford's is. They're 5-5. Like we talked about this on Insider on Thursday, Jamie. Maybe let's talk about Battleford's for a sec before we move on. 5-5 in their last 10. They've kind of been that way all season. Like it's like they're very good. They win some huge games, but they're 5-5 in their last 10 games.
Yeah, I mean, they're bit by the injury bug lately, pretty big time. Obviously, Nikita Ivashenko being gone with Ukraine, which I'll update in Nugs and Notes.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of reasons. Not that they're an excuse type team, but they've been through adversity. They've had, people kind of discount them, especially at the very beginning of the year, with the coaching situation. And they're missing Jordan Grill, they're missing Jackson Allen, et cetera, et cetera. So, Battleford, you've been through some tough times. It seems like people count you out, and then you come up with a couple huge wins. Remember, like a week ago, they beat Melfort. So, like Battleford,
well, that's what we were talking about,
can
right?
do whatever. They found a way to lose to Notre Dame. Kindersley found a way to lose to Notre Dame last week too. Notre Dame found a way to win, so kind of credit goes both ways. But yeah, again, whenever Battleford turns it around, which they will, I will not be surprised, because there is historical evidence for them to do that once again. So I'm not overly worried, especially if they can get a few bodies. And you mentioned that Weyburn Notre Dame game there just very quickly. Notre Dame was 20 minutes away from going 3-0 to start January. But then Ethan DK was triple shifted. I said, isn't it fun for this Weyburn Red Wings team to play with Ethan DK? And literally everyone on the Weyburn Red Wings got to play with Ethan DK for a little bit there, because he was going end to end. Is he the best player in the league all the time, every shift? Maybe not, but when he decides to be, to me, he's the hardest guy to stop, at least lately. He looks super good. So, hey, they found a way, Weyburn again, to win a hockey game. That's what they do. But yeah, between all those teams, it's who's finding a way and who's not, and there's still a long way to go.
And I'm battling the sun here.
It shifted a bit on you, hasn't
just
it?
like the worst. It'll be better in like 3 minutes, because there's another wall. But it's just so funny, because we did just some behind the scenes stuff. We were in a whole different area of this building, and we're like, let's move because the sun's in our eyes. We moved over here. It's a great spot. I'm super pumped about this spot. And then the sun is just like creeping over into the bad spot again. So it is what it is. We're battling the elements, and we're going to get through. Guys, let's move on. I think it's time. We got to talk about the trade deadline here. And how we're going to start this, guys.
We get to talk about the trade deadline.
Yes, you're right. We get to. We have the opportunity and the privilege of talking about the trade deadline. How we're going to do this is we're going to start by going team through team, one by one, and you're going to give some quick comments on who went in, who came in, and who went out. And we're going to go in reverse standings order. So we'll start with Nipawin. Rory, I'm going to start with you. They were active. They made a couple of changes. So let's bring up Nipawin now, and we'll see what they did. So obviously the big one is they brought in a 20-year-old goaltender to kind of shore up their goalie spot. Do you want to talk about Nipawin really quick, Rory?
Yeah, so the biggest thing for me is what's not on the page for the Nipawin Hawks, right? Obviously they do I don't say get rid of, right? But Henry Smith, a 20-year-old defenseman on the last place team, they knew they were going to move him, so they get a little bit of value for Henry Smith. But not being able to move Vito Biondo, who I assume that they wanted to try and recoup some value for him, weren't able to get that move. But you know what? Looking at a positive, you look, hey, they acquire a 20-year-old goaltender. Why did Nipawin go and do that, right? And now you hold on to a 20-year-old defenseman. Why did they do that? You need to establish a winning culture in as little or large sample size as you possibly can, right? These young players in Nipawin are going to be part of the nucleus growing for next season. So was that part of the mentality for Tad Kozin to come in like, hey, maybe we can go 500 for the second half, right? Maybe we can have good habits instilled into some of these young players that are going to move through into our future. And this 20-year-old goaltender that is available can help us do that. So, you know what? It's a little confusing and a little bit, I'm sure they would have liked to get some value for that, but establishing a winning culture, there's nothing more important in sports. In hockey, you need that, especially for young players growing through a team. So if they get a goaltender that can pick up some wins, they can help out, they can get that feeling in a dressing room after a game, that camaraderie of winning, that grows. And that'll help growth more than your summer workout routine, is knowing how to win year to year.
Yeah. Well, just quickly, they lost Nathan Clayton, so they were trying to find a goalie. They got Nick Trakakis, who was the starter in Verdun in the MJ, been a bit of a disappointing year in the MJ. So they bring in Trakakis, and guess who's the starting goalie in Verdun? We'll get to them in a minute, but it is Loic Morin, formerly of Melville. So we'll get to that in a moment. But
we'll get to them in a sec.
That's why they brought in a 20-year-old goalie, is because they needed one.
Yeah.
And clearly they found a good one. So good one.
And now moving on, Notre Dame, one of the busier teams actually, which is surprising because historically a little bit quieter on trade deadline day. Nugsy, some big names in and are out, and some big names in actually too.
Yeah, well, Ryan Carr moved on to the NCDC. Adam Pinsent wanted to go back out east where he's from, so they didn't get a ton for those two guys. Obviously, the big move was moving Liam Hunks, the captain, one of the greatest players that I've been privileged to broadcast for a while, and the Hounds did a nice job recouping, getting Evan Bissell and getting Wiley Smith. They got a premium forward, I think, in Evan Bissell with the opportunity he's going to get, and Wiley Smith, a really steady defenseman, big boy, very physical too. So I think those are two big pickups. Everybody's always talking. Everybody, Rory, you, Clark too. Why doesn't Notre Dame move their veteran players, get some assets, get younger? And it's not like the coaches aren't trying. Just like every team in this league. You talked about Nipawin. I'm sure Tad Cozen tried to move Vito Biondo. It just didn't work out. So you take the positive. So it's the same thing, with Notre Dame. And this year it worked out, and the Hounds found a good partner in Mike Reagan. And I tell you what, watching that Weyburn game where all four of those guys were in the lineup, the return was terrific. I was very impressed with all four of them. I think all four of them will help. They're all 06 birth years.
Yeah.
So they could all come back maybe 2 years even. And so there's a story for all of them. But I think Brett Pilkington did a really nice job finding pieces to fill, maybe for today and for the future. And very, very happy with all four of those.
The rights to another player and a PDF as well. So it wasn't just those two guys, right? The rights to Brendan Brown and a PDF. Yeah. Four things went to Notre Dame.
I didn't put picks and prospects.
Sure, why not? Yeah.
But great point too. Brendan Brown from Milestone, Saskatchewan, of course. It's like hop, skip, and a jump from Wilcox.
Yeah.
So very, very close. So makes a lot of sense there. And the captain of the Moose Jaw Warriors AAA. I think Brett did a marvelous job. Sort of refilling the cupboards. Quick story, fun story. Estevan trades Ethan Andrews gets Ethan Andrews for Luke Lawford in that trade, and within minutes Ethan Andrews basically in the car and plays that night against Melville. And played well, I understand. So good for Ethan to get in the car and get there and go play. So right on trade deadline day, got to play.
I wonder if he got in a Capital Auto Mall car.
Could have been. I don't know which vehicle he
Now we're talking.
Could have got into a very nice brand new car from Capital Auto Mall.
It's true.
Yes, he could have.
I'm going to do the veteran savvy broadcaster move and lean forward so that the sun's not killing my eyes. And now we're good.
I got transition.
I know I messed up our director Jordan's setup here because I leaned forward and probably changed everything. But we're good. I'll sit back in a minute. That sun is perfectly right where it is. I'm in a great spot. Roy, we're going to move on to the Estevan Bruins. Probably the busiest team in terms of in and out. Look at that list. That might not even be it in terms of all the extra stuff that they might have thrown into certain trades or gotten from certain trades. But some very interesting trade deadline. I'd say the most interesting team in terms of the trade deadline.
Yeah, and keep this up for a while there because there's a lot to digest for the fans watching back at home. A couple of those acquisitions, more assignments, right, already property of the Estevan Bruins in Steranka and Potter. And then one of them in Polhill wasn't really a trade. They did nothing for him. Ben Polhill went over to the BCHL as far as I believe. You guys can correct me if I'm wrong. But Estevan was busy, and, yes, a little bit for next year, a little bit, it seems, for this year, acquiring a 20-year-old forward in Ryland Ringer, the brother of Ryder, who is in Flin Flon, who had a little bit of a small sample size there in Melfort earlier in the season. We're going to talk more about Estevan, of just why they made these trades. Is it more of a retooling of a team that wanted just to, hey, we can send these guys out, we can get some PDFs, we can get some bodies in, we can really get a refresh look. And then a team that's not out of the playoff race by any means, we got a long season left. We got 25 games or so left. So maybe that's what it was, right? 20-year-old forward, couple guys down from the dub, Ethan Andrews, 19-year-old defenseman. It was busy for Jason Tatarnic. And I love when coaches are busy, especially when they're teams that are out of the playoffs. It doesn't look like they're giving up on this season. That's not what this trade deadline looks to me at all. It looked like a little bit for next year, but a little bit like, hey, let's retool. Let's do this again.
Well, you talked about who wasn't picked or traded for Nipowin. Who wasn't traded for Estevan is Kieran Ronan.
Yeah.
And to me, he was, like, after Liam Hunk's the best defenseman maybe available. I'm sure Yorkton was calling too as well. I'm sure Yorkton was calling for Biondo. We could talk about that a little bit later. But look, Jason Tatarnic certainly not giving up on the year. They lost Cody Columbus, I think was a big player for them too. But again, not giving up on the year. Jason Tatarnic, I've said it once, I've said it 1,000 times. He doesn't understand the word rebuild.
Right.
Like, he never does it. He won't do it. He didn't do it this year, clearly.
Well,
He's sent Michael Carter to Battlefords.
Yeah.
Maybe that's one, but other than that, he's still got a pretty veteran decor.
Kennedy to Humboldt, too, another 20-year-old out.
Kennedy,
So 2 moves, but then brought in another 20 and a 19-year-old defenseman. So, yeah.
Right, but it was kind of a situation that I saw it as was, it was one of those, it just wasn't working. Whatever, the mix that they had just wasn't really working. They had the lowest goals for in the league this season. And Jason Tatarnic looked at that and said, I'm just going to shake things up.
Yeah.
And like you said, Roy, they are not out of the playoffs. They definitely have a shot still. So maybe we'll see if this new mix, this new shake-up, maybe sparks a little something in Estevan, and that'll be something to watch in the coming weeks as we figure that out. Because time will tell. That's the best part about the trade deadline. We can talk about winners and losers all we want right now, but time will tell, and we'll see what happens. Estevan's going to be a team to watch just to see how all these moves work out. Definitely some interesting pieces in, definitely some interesting pieces out.
They still have a bunch of 04s and 19-year-olds on the back end. They're so experienced.
Exactly. So that'll be interesting. Let's move on to Larange. Larange was one of the teams that me and Nugsy on Thursday's episode of SJHL Insider said would be a competitive seller. Very similar to kind of what Estevan did. They shook some things up, but maybe one of the biggest fishes in terms of who was available for trade is out, Mason Buchert. Jamie, I'll start with you. I'll let you go on this one. Buchert out. That was probably one of the bigger moves on the trade deadline. Yeah,
it was much talked about. A lot of teams were trying for Mason Buchert. They were trying to make it work, trying to get the return work. And Dayton Tailfeathers and Alex Mack will go up to Larange and do a job. And, maybe we'll talk more about Buchert when we hit on Kindersley. But again, Kevin Kaminski, so just like Estevan, he's not selling off. He's not quitting on the year in any way, shape, or form. And every time, again, we try to count out Larange, they find a way to have a good week or to battle it out. And their schedule's been really tough lately. It's got to smooth out a little bit. So they get some useful players. Alex Mack, I put F and D out there just because he can play both forward and D, and he's done that this year for Kindersley. So no versatility for Larange as well. And, Tailfeathers, big guy, can really, really skate, really physical too. And, I think he's done well for Kindersley, and maybe he'll have a bigger role for Larange, and we'll see what he can do. But, again, it was kind of the best that a Killer could maybe do for Buchert at the time, and got a bunch of first-round picks, got cash as well. So I think he did a good job recouping assets.
The picks and the cash also on top of that trade. So 5 things moving hands from Kindersley to Larange, and absolutely not selling because they had other 20-year-olds. They didn't move, right? Just one move. They kept up Silzer, kept Cassette. The 1 point out of the playoffs, not sellers at all at the deadline. Did what he had to do to get Buchert and got 2 players that went to Larange and could be serviceable acquisitions.
And I still have those 2 great goalies too.
And the thing I look at, I remember early in this season, guys, Alex Mack. Did he not win a Player of the Week early in the season?
He had like 9 goals in his first 10 games or something.
I think he scored a bunch of goals in the first couple weeks, and then he's kind of tapered off a little bit. But like you said, Nugsy, I think when we were looking at the graphic before the show, he plays forward and D. He's a versatile player. He's an experienced player. He's been around. So as a 20-year-old, maybe he jumps into that forward group, and it could work out really well for Larange. So it'll be interesting again, another one to watch, interesting for Larange. Rory, we're going to move on to the Humboldt Broncos. Arguably the biggest splash of the whole entire trade window, I'll call it, with Dazza Mitchell coming in. They added Cade Kennedy. They added Liam Rodman, who's a really good, nice defenseman to add. Can you talk about kind of the ins and outs? Because this is an interesting one. Humboldt was an interesting one.
Sure. I mean, Daz is a huge splash, right? They felt they needed an upgrade in the goaltender, and they go and get a former goaltender of the year finalist in than Daza Mitchell. We talked about him a lot in the recap of the weekend, and what a fantastic weekend start he did. He's going to play 95% of the games going forward, you have to think, for the Humboldt Broncos. Liam Rodman, savvy work by Humboldt, as Tristan Sorrell, 20-year-old defenseman, wanted to be closer to home. So Klamosko was able to make that work for Sorrell, who was a fan favorite and a heart and soul player. But, when that comes at you the day of the deadline, and then to make it work in a three-way switch where you reacquire another 20-year-old right-shot defenseman, very similar size, very similar style, with maybe a little bit more offense in Liam Rodman. Great handiwork by Humboldt. And then they go and get Cade Kennedy for a PDF, right? So just needing some centerman depth, which you can never value enough. Up and down the roster. You probably like him to be your 3C. He can be your 2C, 1C if you really need him to be in a pinch. But centerman depth you can value as high as anything at a trade deadline. Penalty kill, power play, he just absorbs into a lineup and does a lot of roles really well. So I'm sure they would have liked to get a high-end, dog scoring forward, but those guys just aren't available, right? There was maybe one that was available at the deadline. He went elsewhere, but great work, I think, by Humboldt to not only get what they felt was a need in Daza, absorb a hit at a vulnerable time in Sorrell wanting to go out, and then finding some depth in Kennedy.
And also, I left it back to January the 1st because we need to keep it within the trade window, but Zach Bansley, obviously, too, coming in, I think can be a good addition. Offensive, player as well, creates a lot. Maybe would like to finish more of his chances than he creates, because he creates a lot with his feet and with his hands. But I think, again, great job finding a way, working with Melville, working with Drumheller and the AJ to make that Liam Rodman move work, and we'll talk about that maybe more with Melville. But,
speaking of Melville, they're the next team on the board, so why don't we bring them up right now, the Melville Millionaires. Maybe not as busy as I personally thought they might be, but that doesn't mean they weren't busy in terms of working the phones. Maybe just the deals didn't come through the way they wanted to or something. But they did bring in a couple younger players, I should say, and Jet Fogel as well, which is an interesting one. But Nugsy, maybe we'll go with you on this one. Can you talk about their ins and outs?
Yeah, well, I mean, they had a bit of a goalie situation there. Obviously, they liked having Ben Lorette and Nick Jeanette in net, so they did move on.
And they all rhyme, so that just makes sense.
They had a bunch of goalies there, and for a bit they had 4 goalies in Melville for a little bit there with Brunin and Moran. So they moved on, from those guys. Obviously, they lost Rothke, they lost Drury. We've talked about that a bunch. But hey, again, that Nadeau and Winder one, it was part of the deal there with Humboldt. Sorrell going to the AJ, and those two guys coming from Drumheller to Melville, and add a little bit of depth there to Melville to recoup some of the players that they lost. And right away, I believe Louis Nadeau had 1 goal in the AJ for the Drum as a defenseman. Now he has 1 goal already in 1 game for Melville, so clearly that's worked out well. And Jet Fogel from a very good program, very good team right now, having a great year in Alberta, the Grand Prairie Storm. Having a nice year, so he's a big, tall forward. Doug Johnson loves those rangy guys who can skate, so he'll fit right into there in Melville. And Notre Dame was up there, but Peyton Allard, I was speaking to Melville forward Rain Hodge. They just loved him, and they were kind of sad to see him go. A very, very nice young man, and there just wasn't any ice time, I guess, for him in Melville. And I think he'll be a nice piece for Notre Dame down the middle. Talk about depth centerman. He's another one like that for Notre Dame could have. So. Melville, again, needed to recoup some bodies from some of the places they lost. Maybe could have added some more. We'll see if they, what they can do the rest of the way. But, Doug Johnson was active and found a way to make that all move with Braden Klamosko and Drumheller. So good for those guys. Yeah,
for sure. The Kindersley Clippers, the biggest splash potentially, adding Mason Buchert. Rory, we'll come back to you on this one. Again, we kind of talked about the ins and outs with the Laurent's trade, but what does this mean for Kindersley?
It means they got a guy that is just every team has to now circle him when you play the Kindersley Clippers. Before you'd circle the whole Clippers team based off how they played, never taking a shift off, right? Very, very hard to play against, but always throw you off your game. You know what the Perlingers do, and how Clayton Jardine wants Kindersley to play shift in and shift out. Very successful, but you need a guy that is just that bona fide, need a goal down 3-2, who's it going to? It's going to Buchert, right? Your Michael Jordan, your Kobe Bryant type shooter, and that's what Mason Buchert does for the Kindersley Clippers. It's the biggest trade out of fit. It's the biggest trade out of how dangerous of a guy can we get. And Mason Bucher, too, had, the ice time and opportunity. I don't think it's going to change from what he got in Larange, but it's a team that knows their identity. And now they go and get this guy. It's, I think, probably the biggest trade to fit in the SJHL for Bucher to Kindersley.
Yeah, I mean, you think about like a guy like Zach Anderson playing with him, like the speed that guy brings. Will Christian, kind of the same thing. They're very, very quick guys. They just needed that guy to find who understood how to get open and find that pocket of space and finish that opportunity. And yeah, the Kindersley Clippers team, they're humming along. They're playing the good hockey, but now they're really, really dangerous. I think they're going to probably roll with, Brett O'Halloran in net quite a lot. So that'll be interesting to see how he does. But certainly they have weapons, and you could see the jolt that it added to them right away against Nipawin. They outscored the Hawks 9-2 or 9-1, pardon me, over those two games. And even though it was 2-0 one of those games, it was a hugely outshot game. Kindersley had way more shots than Nipawin.
Nipawin had 8.
Yeah, like 40-8 or something like that. So Kindersley's playing the right way, and they had a superstar at our level in Buchert. You're right, Rory. You said it perfectly. Like he just fits perfect.
With that in mind, I just
sun has found you again.
They found me. Yeah, it's creeping up. But I just want to say, Cody Jamin recorded a shutout this weekend, and we love giving guys who got a shutout goalie of the week. He only made like 24 saves.
No, 8 saves.
8 saves.
No, over the weekend though.
Oh, yeah.
Again, the 2 games that he started. So great weekend, Cody Jamin. Congrats. Didn't give you goalie of the week, sorry. That's all I wanted to say.
I'm sure he's fine with that.
He's okay.
Battleford's North Stars, Nugsy, will go with you on this one.
Yeah.
I was wondering what they would do. We thought they might possibly make a huge splash. They added some guys, but maybe not the splashes maybe we thought they might go out and do. What are you thinking about Battleford's ins and outs?
I thought, we talked on the show about them just being careful more than anything, not to upset the room. And I thought maybe they would try to build around Allen and Grill and go for something, but I think at some point too, Wiley, Riendo, and those guys were just like, how do we get some bodies in here? Just because they were just getting hit, big time. They brought in a guy in James Kearney who has lots of junior experience as a big defenseman. Rory loves to chirp me because whenever I say I like a player, he's like, is he from Ontario? Which is not true even a little bit. But Kearney is from Ontario. So he played, but he played St. Mike's. Not a huge St. Mike's guy, just kidding. But, kudos to you, Kearney, for coming. They got Samborski, guy who played in Olds on the AJ last year. I'm sure he'll rebound well at some point from that Notre Dame game, but he'll be fine. Yeah, and they just need some bodies. They brought in Michael Carter, was their biggest piece, for sure, from Estevan. Thought he was a pretty solid D-man for Estevan, veteran guy for Battleford. So, again, they're still such a dangerous team. They didn't want to make a move just to make a move, Rory, and that's the way I see it.
I kind of love the acquisition of Michael Carter for the Battleford's North Stars. Did they go out and make the biggest splashes because they only had 5 20-year-olds? No, of course they didn't. But Battleford's has 130 goals this year, right? They're not having a problem scoring goals. They're 3rd in the league. They've given up 133. They're still one of the top teams in the SJHL with a minus goal differential, right? So we talked about what value does depth centerman have? What value does depth defenseman have? And to even call Michael Carter a depth defenseman might be undersliding him a bit, right? Is it kind of like, did Tampa Bay acquire Luke Shen the year they won, the championship? Right? It's just that mold that fits and shores up, a little bit of depth in your your D core with a 20-year-old defenseman like Michael Carter who is available. They didn't make the giant splash, but maybe they didn't have to, and they got a really good addressing of a guy who could just munch some minutes, make a safe play, get the puck out, chip in when he can, and help out, get that goals against down a bit.
And you look at this Battleford's D core outside of Jordan Grill, who's, I understand he's coming back very soon. They're so young. We're so young. Again, add a little bit of experience there. Yes, in Carter. Yes, in Kearney. Again, we think that they can beat anybody on a night. We know it. We've seen it. Now they're just a little bit more experienced on the back end. So we know maybe we're downplaying Battleford's moves just a touch.
Yeah.
Maybe they've done better than we thought.
Yeah.
And I think that's very possible that's how it's going to turn out.
Well, is it a team that, we talk about Yorkton, if Yorkton gets into a track meet, they are so dangerous to beat. Does Battleford, they need to get away from being that kind of track meet team, right? We see what happens. They lost 10-5 to Yorkton.
Yeah.
It was a one-off. It was a game. But can Battlefords play that tighter knit game more often, right? We know they can, but more often.
Well, and
so a
having
couple
experienced guys.
Experienced D-men will definitely help do that.
Yeah. Let's move on to the Weyburn Red Wings here. Very interesting. Obviously, Cody Mapes is always a guy to watch when it comes to trades. But they actually added a player not via trade, but also a couple in the Daza Mitchell trade, of course, which is kind of the big splash, getting Josh Sale and Ty Matanovich. Rory, I guess we'll go to you on this one, just because the Daza Mitchell trade has a lot of ripple effects for Weyburn because they get the two players from Humboldt. Can you talk about the two players that they brought in from that trade?
Yeah, and I forget whether we might have done it last week a bit of what Sale already scored a goal, another player in the second game for Weyburn, and Ty Matanovich does depth forward for Sale, insurance policy, goaltender, and Ty Matanovich, who's still young, right, still a 19-year-old, so not a maxed out on 20. But the Daza Mitchell trade, they had 9 20s at that point. They had to get rid of one. Weyburn was one of the teams that if they did nothing, it wouldn't have shocked me. I think they're really happy. I have them up there with Flin Flon and Melfort. I think they're, I don't want to slight Yorkton as well, just with the style of play that Weyburn does put out more often. I really, really think they're a championship favorite as well to win this year. I didn't expect them to do anything, and they didn't. But then, of course, you look on Twitter. I feel like Bob McKenzie on trade deadline with my phone I got no laptop for notes. To go and get an experienced dub player and a brother of a former Weyburn Red Wing
and son
of a former Weyburn Red Wing. Right? It didn't shock me at all. It's like that's all they needed. Right? They didn't need to make splashes at deadline. They're maxed out on 20s. Let's go get Matthew Edwards, some culture, some experience. Some size, some grit, some scoring ability. Yeah, Weyburn's a threat.
Matthew Edwards is he was a scary dude to people in the dub. Like, he's a tough kid.
Yeah.
He's not going to be here to put up a ton of points. He's going to pitch in. But he's going to be nails, and nobody's going to mess with the Weyburn Red Wings with Matty Edwards around. And then and talk to Cody Mapes. He adores Josh Sale, and obviously you watched him closely. He's got lots of AJHL, BCHL experience. Kind of that middle 6 forward group guy, could go up and down, get on the power play. Cody Mapes is really impressed already, and a solid backup in Matanovich. Again, you talk about Weyburn, just like we talked about Flin Flon. Where do guys fit in their roles? Do they understand their roles? And you think about this Weyburn team, they didn't need to make a lot of moves because their roles are really well defined as long as they're healthy, which they are now. They have guys in the right seats on the bus, and they are ready to go. Third period, they were all over Notre Dame to start to finish, and they showed what they could do. So very impressed, and again, right people it seems like that Cody Mapes brought in.
Just for reference, Matthew Edwards in his last 3 seasons in the WHL has played about 100 games, and he has 219 penalty minutes.
Yes.
That'll do it.
So Weyburn, I know Weyburn fans, you're going to love this kid. Yeah, you're going to love
Cody wanted some more grit, some more sandpaper.
Yeah.
He's going to be gritty.
Well, they got enough top-end talent, so that's another great fit.
Yeah. Exactly. The Yorkton Terriers, let's bring up this one. It is a long list. No, it's not. They didn't do anything. Now, I don't think that's fair to say. I don't think they didn't do anything. I'm sure that Emery Olausson was working the phones. He tried, I'm sure. We know for a fact that he was involved in at least 1 or 2 trade talks. They just didn't end up happening. So, Nugsy, I guess let's go with you on this one. Is this how do we view no changes when we see that graphic? How do we view that?
Well, I mean, obviously you're right. He tried. There was trying. There's all 12 GMs are on the phone constantly on trade deadline day and before. But it also says that Emery Olausson has full faith in his locker room. And to be fair, they have proven at every hurdle, every speed bump, that they deserve to be given the trust that Emery Olausson has put in their way. Every time that they, again, is this going to be when Yorkton falls off? They don't. They had that adversity of that forfeit thing and blah, 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 and they've had injuries and blah, blah, blah. It doesn't matter. They're so deep up front. Their young D are way underrated, in my opinion. And, if they can get the goaltending consistently from Farrow and Craig, again, nobody wants to face these guys.
And can I say, we talked about this a little bit last week, guys. Their rookie defensemen, who we didn't give enough credit at the beginning of the season, 4 of them fantastic season so far. And they did make a splash. They brought Keenan Ingram in earlier this year, leads the league in points. Yeah. So in a way, they already did make their big splash. They brought in that guy who just happens to lead the league in points right now. So maybe Emery looked at it as, you know what, I did my splash. The price points aren't where I want them to be. It's not worth it for me. I like my group, like you said, Nugsy. Rory, do you have anything else to add to Yorkton before we move on?
No, they would have had to move at 20.
Yeah.
And right, if you're not willing to do that, if you like your seasoning on your recipe, then don't change it, right? And they're not really moving. No 20s moved, and you can't. There's no 19-year-old defenseman available, right? Ethan Andrews might have been the only one. How many were really out there, right? Like a bona fide stud 19-year-old defenseman. Good luck finding that.
And who wants to move it if you
exactly? You're not going to get it.
I think that's the biggest nuance of this trade deadline was I think there were some teams that probably would have loved to add 20-year-olds if they could have just went out and added a 20-year-old.
Might have been handcuffed, and you might have liked it to not change it.
Exactly.
Well, they like their room. They're clear. They seem tight.
It's very hard to trade 19-year-old players in junior A hockey.
It's easy to trade them. It's hard to get them.
Exactly. Well, sure. Exactly. Yeah.
And look, they'll run you out of any building if you're not playing your game. If you don't lock them up, they'll score 10 goals on you like they did this weekend. Good luck.
Yeah, they scored 11 if you think about it that way. But they
you got to beat them 4 times in a playoff series. So locking them up one game like Melfort did earlier. Is that the weekend or earlier in the week, whenever it was, Melfort locked him up, Battlefords couldn't do it. 4 games against Yorkton's going to be just as difficult as Melfort, as Flin Flon. They got the recipe that you want to keep on cooking every day of the week.
Let's
three top lines, they'll do.
Absolutely, yes. And you know what? Maybe even 4, depending on who's injured and who's healthy. You get that lineup, it's wild.
The sun is slowly coming to you here, pal. It's now drifted over to me and Clark. You're going to get it.
Now only Nugsy's head is the one that's blinding me because there's sun's coming off the top of his head. But that's okay. Flin Flon, they did make some moves, not as many as last year. If we recall, last year they made a bunch of splashes. This year, Liam Hunks, a big splash. Mike Reagan, instead of jumping into the pool a bunch of times, just did one big cannonball this year and brought in Liam Hunks, probably the most prized defensive addition that was made. Rory, I'll go with you on this one because you saw them. How good did Liam Hunks look for Flin Flon?
Yeah, he's so smart. He was on Flin Flon had a power play 2 minutes into his very first game, and Hunks was on it, right? It's crazy. I mean, I know Leighton Carruthers, I was talking to Mike afterwards, he got hurt in the game prior, and Hunks took his spot, but he didn't look like he was a step out of place at all. He's one of the smartest players in the SJHL, and to me, this is we talked about Daza being the biggest trade in terms of maybe desperation and a fit for Buchert. This is the biggest playoff implementation trade. Liam Hunks is a minute munching, as smart as defenseman as you're going to find, third in D-man scoring, and he just also fits like a glove in Flin Flon. He looked fantastic, but he looked like he was playing with the Flin Flon Bombers all year. It's just how smart he is. It's going to go a long way. It's going to go a long way. He's a great hockey player.
And Nugsy, I'm going to pose this question to you because you love talking about these kind of things. Now it's Hunks and Tanchuk as a defensive pairing, at least how they listed it on the roster. Is that the best defensive pairing in the SJHL right now?
You mean it certainly has the look to it. I mean, they've got Luke Lepper out there too on Flin Flon.
Right, yeah, so, no slouch.
You put him with Tanchuk. I think you put any elite guy with Cole Tanchuk in, it's going to be fun. Yeah. It's a great question. Yeah, I mean, I would say yes because you asked me a yes/no question. Yes. I will say yes. And obviously,
yes, no, or 20-minute explanation.
And from a human standpoint, it totally sucks. For me.
For you.
Because I've known Liam Hunks and watched him every day for 2.5 years. A great kid, great relationship with him. I'm extremely happy for him to have this opportunity to play up in Flin Flon and go on a run and stay at a billet and everything. Obviously, for those that don't know, was acquired by Notre Dame as an 18-year-old out of the BCHL a couple of years ago, and he's really developed a lot under Brett Pilkington too. So I think Brett deserves some credit there. But, incredible player. There's no holes in his game at the SJHL level. And I've said it a couple times on a couple shows. He is the best defenseman in the SJHL. And you dummies out there that rolled your eyes because he's a Notre Dame Hound, you're going to watch now. He plays for Flin Flon, and he's going to absolutely rip the SJHL to shreds.
I never rolled my eyes.
Well,
there's a lot of good defense.
Somebody out there.
I think I always came back to you with he's a top 5 defenseman in the league.
This year
I couldn't pull the trigger on the best yet. There's so many good defensemen.
This year he is the best.
I just got called a dummy, and I don't feel that bad.
Oh well, you know what? They say don't insult your the people watching you, but
I don't think you're saying that.
But anybody that rolled your eyes, you're going to see right now.
Yeah, I didn't know if he was talking to us or the listeners.
No, not
you.
Nugie,
don't insult the listeners.
Anybody who rolled their eyes when I said that, he is so unique, he's so special. His edges are so special. He breaks the puck out better than anybody in this league. They probably have the two best puck breakouts.
Not even from Ontario.
Between Hunks and Lepper. Lepper does it by skating by you. Hunks does it because he's so shitty.
So again,
but
thanks, Bryce.
Really good players.
So again, the answer to my question was yes. They are.
I could go on I'm done with my lead most
now, Rory, we'll go back to you on this one, or Nugsy, I guess. Well, we can both talk about it. We can all three talk about this one. The Melfort Mustangs. Again, really long list here. Oh, no. They didn't do anything. Now, they made some changes early on in the season, moving some guys in, some guys out. And I mean, they just got Madden Malacca back from the WHL as their backup goaltender, so maybe that could have been somehow included in this, but they didn't really ever lose him. So in a way, they didn't do anything. But overall, again, trust in your room. Trevor Blevins has done this year after year. He doesn't make any huge trade deadline moves. He likes his group. He sticks with it. Guys, are we good with this, with the Melfort Mustangs?
Well, what could have you done?
Yes.
Is my kind of question. Your team won the championship last year with a plethora of returning players on the team this year. You're first place in the league. You almost set the record for wins in a row going back to 1981. Players available are coming from teams that haven't been doing good this year. Do you want to bring in a player that is not part of that championship culture and the season that you've already had? Risky, right? You don't got to do anything if you're the Melfort Mustangs right now. You won last year, you're winning this year. Why would you change anything? They actually did acquire a second-round pick from the Notre Dame Hounds. So he made one phone call, he got a pick for the future, but I just think there's way too much risk acquiring a player when there's a lot of teams this year that aren't trading. So the teams that you could go and get might have a fracture in a winning culture that you've already built.
Right.
So don't do anything. Right. I like it.
Yeah.
If you wouldn't have won the championship last year, if you wouldn't have won last year and you would have been the best team this year, then maybe we can bring in some depth, but you won last year. You have the experience from that and you still are winning this year. Why are we changing?
Well, first of all, I'll also say Trevor Blevins is very much willing to make moves. He has in previous years.
Always. Yeah.
Just maybe not this year because he looks at his room and he says, where are the holes? As you said, where do you add that you don't want to crack the structure of the culture that they've made? And that's absolutely true. Also, how do they get better? Like, what do you do to get better? Like, they got Ashton Paul. They made that trade, right?
Yeah.
With the MJ, and he's kind of pure offense. You know, Riley Kotai was earlier in the year, and again, that's pure offense. And Zach Summers looks as good as he's ever looked. And so they've got layers and layers. They've got the right mix. I said on the show, Trevor, if you're listening, don't do anything. He watched Mike Reagan last year. He had a dominant Flin Flon team, and he did too much.
Yeah.
I'm very, very in agreement with with Trevor to not do anything because I think they're ready to go for Game 1 of the Cantera Seeds Cup final right now.
There you go. Well, that kind of wraps up talking about the 12 teams, but now we have a little bit of a rapid fire quiz sort of segment. So we're going to go through just a few different topics of conversation around what we just kind of discussed and get your guys' thoughts really quickly on each thing. So winners of the deadline, Nugsy, I'm going to go to you to start. Do you think there is a clear-cut winner this year?
Yes. Flin Flon.
Liam Hunks.
An elite decor to win championships. They had a good decor, had Liam Hunks, they'll get Pierce Yakimchuk back. And now they have an elite decor.
There you go. Flin Flon.
I'm going
Rory?
crazy off the board right now.
Yeah?
Crazy off the board.
Humboldt.
Melfort.
Melfort. Doing
Don't
nothing.
do anything. Melfort
like
for
that.
not touching it, right? Just letting it roll. Melfort, I just think that it takes guts to make a trade. It takes guts not to make a trade. Yeah. And you could still be a winner for not doing anything.
And you look at Melfort, it's a great answer, Roy. They have like Logan Kipe. They've got some really good young D back there. Bo Eisner's still in 05. Cole Unger's in 05. Like, they had some pieces they could have moved, but they liked them all.
Yeah.
Not throwing out there because those bad players.
Yeah, you like them.
But I love your answer, Roy.
I'm going to go with Kindersley just to shake it up, and I think.
But you have to. We can't leave out the Clippers too, man. They got Buchert.
Yeah, Buchert coming in there, I think, is a great fit. And like we just said, they are behind Flin Flon right now. They're the hottest team in the league. They're 6-0-0-1 in the last 7 games. They got a bit of a win streak going. I think Buchert coming in there really makes it really interesting now in that second tier of teams. Because like we said in the standings when we were talking about it, there is now a clear 5-team second tier of our standings. We got Melfort, and then I think, Flin Flon might be pulling away. Maybe they're in their own tier of their own in between. Maybe the third tier, though, Yorkton, Weyburn, Battlefords, and now I'm putting Kindersley right in that group as well. So Kindersley is my answer for that question. Moving on, which was the biggest trade, though? Was it Daza to Humboldt? Was it Buchert to Kindersley? Was it Hunks to Flin Flon? Or was it something else? Biggest trade.
Go ahead.
We kind of talked about this a few times already.
Yeah, again, Liam Hunks to Flin Flon. Game changer. And I like the return from Notre Dame. Notre Dame got.
Yep.
Bassell, very skilled, hands, very quick, great character, great mustache. Big fan, Wiley Smith.
So you're saying from both sides that was the biggest
right?
trade.
And Notre Dame obviously got some money. I would have liked Notre Dame maybe to get one more D because Notre Dame only has 6 D on their roster right now. But I think the return was great for both sides, and I think that's the biggest seismic shift. 1A.
Rory?
To me, it's Daza because Liam Hunks and Mason Buchert will make Flin Flon and Kindersley better. Daza has the opportunity to change a team, to absolutely reverse the direction of what the Humboldt Broncos have been doing over 2 months, and to turn them into a team that is clawing for the playoff spot to a team that no one wants to play in the playoffs, right? Like I think Hunks makes Flin Flon amples better. Buchert is exactly what Kindersley needs. They're good teams already. Humboldt with Daza might change who the Humboldt Broncos are.
Thing.
And that transformational thing, I think, is why it's the biggest trade.
I'm going to go other. I'm going to go Weyburn acquiring a second-round pick from Notre Dame for a PDF. I think that was the biggest trade. We'll go with that.
Well, they got to pay my huge salary.
That's true. That's true.
Your gas expenses.
Notre Dame.
Melfort and Yorkton stood pat. Which one is more surprising?
I think surprising to me is Yorkton, just a bit. I know that they wanted to. I know that it surprises me because I think the level of want was higher and it didn't get done. I think the level of want for Melfort might have been a little lower. Probably a 20-year-old defenseman, 19-year-old defenseman for Yorkton would have shored up nice. It would have been what they wanted. But again, 20-year-olds, they might not have been able to do. They might have liked their seasoning for their 20s they already had, and you can't carry more than 8 unless you want a junior B one or one's going to sit every night. And then 19-year-old defensemen just weren't available.
They just weren't there,
I think the want to get something was more in the favor of Yorkton, which makes it more of a surprise for me, but just slightly, because I'm not entirely surprised for both. I just feel that if Yorkton added a defenseman, we would have been like, yep, that's what they needed, right? And where Melfort added something, we're like, did they need it?
We would have been like, oh, nice, cool.
Yeah, it would have been nice,
but for Yorkton, exactly.
With some understanding of how difficult it is to
It's extremely difficult,
that is my big time caveat, but I am more than a little surprised that Yorkton didn't do whatever they could to move, H and high water. Hell, can I say hell?
Sure,
hell and high
you can
water,
say that.
To do something,
and we just got canceled.
To just get a little bit more experience on the back end.
Yeah,
I know they have Aldridge back there. You gotta find a way to get the guy that you kind of wanted, a hitter, a big munching D-man, a really guy you're afraid of back there. I think Yorkton is a very good hockey team, and could they win the championship with the group that they have? I think they could. But I would have been a lot more comfortable calling them a bona fide, for sure, Final Four team if they had got something done. Now, again, I'm not chirping anybody. I know Emery tried really hard. But I'm just surprised that nothing could get done. That's
for sure. I will echo your sentiments.
Are you seeing some of the comments? I can't, even with my glasses on.
I can see the screen a little bit, when it comes up. Was there some that were topical that we should get to?
I don't know, a couple just with breaking trays. If you want to bring
Ledge Weber says the Bombers are dangerous. You don't know who's going to put the puck in the net. 17-0-1-1 without a regulation loss. Yes, absolutely. Liam Armbruster says, I'm a Yorkton fan by heart, but I have the utmost respect for every team, except for Melville.
I love it.
Fun. We like having fun. And then, you know what? Liam and Don Williams are just having a conversation. So let's Kyle Adamson was not happy with my saying that Cody Jamin's not getting the goalie of the week. Sorry, Kyle. My apologies. And then earlier on, I said the sun is killing me.
I don't apologize at all.
Your team was too good. 8-shot shutout.
Let Nipawin have a few chances, okay, Kindersley, and then Cody can have goalie.
It would help the cause. Was Estevan's moves for this year or for next year? And just in general, talking about Estevan's moves moves again. Just kind of shaking up the chairs on the deck, but at the same time, some really interesting moves in and out.
I feel that we covered this question, and maybe we spoiled it. We should have saved all the discussion when we did it. And Newsy said, I guess Jason Tatarnic just doesn't really know the word rebuild, right? Because it seemed more of a retool for this year. And hey, let's fight. Let's fight to the bitter end, right?
Yeah.
That's kind of what it seemed like.
Yeah, I mean, if they had moved Ronan, then I would have said it's for next year.
Yeah.
But because they kept Kieran Ronan, which, again, that's a lot on one kid, but, it is what it is. Certainly the answer is yes.
Yeah, to me it was like they're playing the game Yahtzee, right? And you put all the dice out and you didn't like what you got, so you put all the dice back in the bucket and you shot it out again. I shouldn't do that action too many times.
You might get 4 fours.
But you might get something a little bit better, and we'll just see now if Jason Tatarnic likes the dice that came out of this bucket or not. And like you said, Rory, 25 or 6 games left, and Estevan's got the most games played, most games ahead of them. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. Did Nipawin drop the ball not moving Vito Biondo the third?
I think, for Vito, I don't know. I haven't talked to him personally, right, if he wanted a chance to go on a team. So I don't know if it's dropping the ball for Vito or dropping the ball for Nipawin. But I know when you are in a spot where it just looks like playoffs are going to be too far away, that you want to recoup value for 20-year-olds. So maybe didn't drop a ball, but bobbled it, because I also talked about how important winning culture is to build year after year. So I'm sure that they wanted something for him. Was the value too high where no one was really willing to get it? And then, hey, let's just keep him. And that was the better situation. And if Vito's happy to be there, then that's a win-win, and there's no ball drop at all.
Right.
It's fine. But I mean, if you're out of the playoffs and you really wanted to recoup, but maybe a team was one piece away, should have you pulled the trigger and traded it for one piece less? Maybe. I don't know. Yeah, that's tough. That's a tough situation.
Yeah, I'm sure Tad and Dana down there, Nipawin tried to figure things out, and sometimes, obviously being around Brett Pilkington a lot, when people were talking to him about Liam Hunks, sometimes people give you offers and you're like, come on, man, like
it just wasn't good enough.
Let's be serious here.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's just the way it all goes, and there just wasn't a suitable partner. So I'm sure they were looking at it and talking about it, but at the same time, I can see why you can turn that into a positive, Rory, because as you said, this will keep Nipawin that much more competitive. And give good examples for their young players, and that's what they need.
Yeah. I'll tell you what other offers that you will never say, come on, man, at. The offers here at Capital Auto.
Oh, wow. Yes, thank you.
Good one.
All the trucks behind that you see, everyone in the showroom. You will never say, come on, man, to the offers that they have going on here.
Thank you, Jordan. Yes, look at this beautiful showroom that we're sitting in. And, man, has there been it's busy here. There's people walking around, jumping in cars, starting them up. It's great. Come on down. Capital GMC, Capital Auto Mall in general. Great people down here. Thank you, Rory, for saying that.
Gotcha.
So far, you're in the lead, I think, for Capital Auto Mall references during the show. I really like what you guys are saying about maybe keeping Vito Biondo there, having more value than a PDF, for example, if that was an offer. Bringing in the 20-year-old goaltender, maybe just settling it down, because like you said, guys, this team is built to come back next year as a unit. Yeah. And if you can have a little bit of momentum at the end of the year, like you said, I think Rory earlier in the show, you said if they can go 500 the rest of the year, that's huge going into next year. It's a confidence booster. Those young guys, the 17-year-olds that are on the roster, they're coming back now. They'll be more experienced and feel a little bit better coming into their 18-year-old year. So maybe this was a good thing for Nipawin. I like it, actually.
And in this day and age, kids have a lot of options.
Yeah.
Go BC, go whatever, NCDC, wherever. To feel good, to have a team a little bit of a roll down the stretch, even if you don't make the playoffs. It's more of that good feeling to say, let's come back next year, let's build on this, let's grow, let's see what we did late in the year. You see that time and time again. So there's a good reason to spin. There's an honest way to spin it for Biondo to stay in Nipawin.
I like it.
Going to the rink when you're playing winning hockey is fun. Right? Yeah. Going into a dressing room after you win in any sport is fun.
I think Nipawin is playing solid hockey right now,
after the game, when you lose, it sucks. When you win, you don't want to leave a dressing room, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And that's what you just got to get more of.
I have 2 more questions, but I'm going to combine them. So I'm going to say, who do you wish did more? And also, if there was a trade you would have liked to see in an ideal world, rules didn't matter, and you could just put a guy on a team and it made sense and it worked. So who do you wish would have done more? And maybe within that, what was an ideal trade you wish would have gone down?
Go ahead, Nukes. I need a second here. Fair to say, I think we're both on the same page that a Yorkton defenseman would have been nice.
Yeah. So Yorkton doing more would have been maybe an obvious answer. I can go first if you guys need a second to think. I personally just wish, now because I have Doug Johnson on my fantasy team, I wish that Melville maybe would have. They had open 20-year-old spots, and if there was a way that they could have gotten, and maybe they tried, I don't know, but a Marko Djordjevic from Notre Dame, for example. I just think that would have been a really nice, and that would be my ideal trade, by the way, is Marko Djordjevic going to Melville. And just getting what Melville had at the beginning of the year, they got off to such a good start. And I know they've gone through some adversity and stuff with their roster, but getting a guy like a Marko Djordjevic on that team, or just maybe a veteran guy in the forward group, I think I like their goalies. Their blue line is solid, so if they could have added a nice forward like that, I would have loved to have seen it. So I guess Melville is my double answer for the question. Nugsy, do you want to take over from there? Now that I've set the bar.
Yeah, I mean, again, Notre Dame, and all, I think Estevan's in the same situation. For some team, a bunch of teams are precarious with just pure numbers of human beings on their teams right now. The league is supposed to be down to 25 carded players on the trade deadline. I don't think that's a problem for a bunch of teams because teams are actually looking for human bodies. So I would have liked Notre Dame, maybe even Estevan, to bring in another D if they could have. I know they were, again, looking at it, and it just didn't work out. So that's just sort of from a security kind of standpoint. And I know probably if I'm the humble Broncos, just somebody who's a pure finisher, that's what they brought in Gabriel Filion to be. It didn't really work out in Humboldt. I don't want to speak for the Broncos, even though I guess I do that for everybody. But we got Rory sitting here to do that. But Gabriel Filion didn't really get replaced, really, Rory. So just a guy who's just a pure sniper, speed guy, maybe the thing that Humboldt maybe could have needed.
I think in the market, for that, goal scoring threat, but where do you find that again? Right, it just wasn't really much available. They did what they could. I'm very excited to watch Cade Kennedy, Dazza Mitchell.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh yeah, great addition.
Who am I forgetting? Who's the third one? Liam Rodman, right? Zach Bansley.
There you go.
Before the trade deadline, I had Djordjevic going somewhere because, I've loved Marco's game since he was at the Notre Dame Hounds, but he gets to finish out his career in Notre Dame, and I'm sure he's very happy to. As you said, Notre Dame needs bodies, so trading him, I'm not sure really would have helped that cause.
No.
Right?
Also, it's like for Marco, the thing too is he's having a wonderful year, and not to say that he wouldn't, be a top line guy on another team, but for a guy who's looking to get his commitment. He knows
opportunity.
He knows opportunity. That's right. He knows he's going to be power play guy, PK guy, 6-on-5 guy, overtime guy, for sure. On Notre Dame, where he should be that elsewhere, but he doesn't know that for a fact. So I see that why staying.
Anything else to add, Roy? You good?
No, I mean, I kind of went down mentally in my mind about people that I thought would fit good on other teams, but, Flin Flon, I think they got the right guy in Hunks. Melford, I didn't want to do anything. Yorkton, we talked about them already. Weyburn didn't need to do anything, acquired a big dub stud. Humboldt desperately needed a goalie, they got it. Kingerly needed a scorer, they got it.
The only other one that I would have loved, and I said this, I think it was one of my trades when we talked about it last week, Ryland Silzer to Yorkton would have been a really nice fit.
Yeah.
As that 20
would have been a great fit.
But
big
just,
again,
ideal world, rules don't matter. That would have been great. But we're here.
Overall, right? We knew this on location. At Capital Automall GMC. Was going.
That's where he's going.
Was going to happen, right? And I'm just thankful that we had a trade deadline with 19 trades, right? We were thinking a couple weeks ago, wow, there might not be any. Right? People have card issues. There's a lot of 20 caps happening. Every team fighting for the playoffs, and we had a trade deadline that was, I think, the busiest in the last 3 or 4 years. So,
and speaking of trades, if you bring in your vehicle to Capital GMC or Capital Automall in general, and you mention the SJHL, you get $1,000 off your trade value, or added to your trade value. So it's just a fantastic.
I might not leave with my car.
I know, that's what I'm saying.
I might have this guy behind me.
You might be driving out of here with one of these bad boys. And we will be talking to Jay Paul of Capital GMC next segment. Nugs and Notes, you want to wrap through that really quick?
Just very quickly.
We have the Nugs and Notes from the studio. There we go.
Hey, buddy, welcome
on location.
Welcome on location. You got the guy. We had to argue with him.
He just sold the car, actually. He just came from selling the car.
He's like, I don't even work here, but he just handed a check for $200,000 to the boss.
No, he sold a car.
He sold the car.
He works here now.
That's what I'm saying. He got someone to.
Oh, somebody. I got you.
Anyways, yesterday in Finland, Jeter Cordy's sister Alita Cordy and Team Canada U18 beat USA in the gold medal game of the U18s in the IHF World Championships. Congratulations, striker Zablocki of Prince Albert was the #1 star of the tournament. 12 points, dominated Northeastern commit. Her siblings, her big brother is named Storm, and her little sister is named Steel. So we got Storm, Striker, and Steel.
Nice. Wow.
Pretty cool names for the Zablockis. And Canada went perfect 6-0. Nikita Ivashenko and Team Ukraine at the Division 1B U20 World Juniors. Ukraine is off to a great start, 2-0 after big wins over Poland and Estonia, but Nikita apparently got really sick.
Oh,
so
shoot.
prayer for him. Hope he's doing okay. Had to go to a hospital, I believe, in Estonia. Was taken care of well, and they hope he can be back for the gold medal game. Ukraine off to a great start there, as I said. And finally, showcase SJMJ showcase rosters, pardon me. Everybody keeps asking me about them, and fair enough, because I want to know too. They will be out on Wednesday, so make sure you stay tuned to SJHL.ca and across the social media platforms for that, and Clark and I will have lots to talk about on Insider on Thursday.
Yeah.
So Wednesday for the showcase rosters. That's Nugs and Notes.
I was going to say a teaser for Thursday's SJHL Insider is that we will basically break down all the rosters, so that'll be a fun show.
Yeah.
Let's have a break. Director Bryce just texted me. He's like, "You guys realize this segment's been an hour long?" And I'm like,
no, we haven't.
"Oh, okay."
It's a trade deadline special. What do you
It's a
want?
trade deadline show. What are we supposed to do? Anyways, we'll be back after this break, and we'll be joined by Jay Paul, General Manager of Capital GMC here in Regina. Capital Auto Mall, proud sponsor of the SJHL. We'll see you after the break.
Your new truck trade-up has arrived at Capital GMC. Volume pricing is back. As inventory levels go up, prices come way down. And right now, we have over 250 brand new GMC Sierras to choose from. Lease a Crew Cab 4x4 Pro Edition for only $269 bi-weekly plus tax with $0 down. Or work with our finance experts to get the best available rates. Plus, GM certified pre-owned inventory is back too. Shop over 150 vehicles, all makes, all models. It's finally time for your new truck trade-up, only at Capital GMC.
Each year, the SCSA issues over 10,000 training certificates to the construction professionals who build our province. That's the population of Martinsville. Learn more at scsaonline.ca.
Saskatchewan's far north is where the land itself inspires. It's the beauty and power of wilderness, the solitude of a place far removed from what you might know. When this landscape surrounds you, it's like nothing else. Come and let it awaken you, energize you. Come and create your story in our Northern Lights and Waterways. Saskatchewan.
In a year where Amazon sold its first book, Alanis topped the charts, and the Frappuccino became cool, we were there. Trusted by the Saskatchewan construction industry since 1995. Learn more at scsaonline.ca.
As a student, things can pile up fast. Ouch. But the RBC Student Banking Bundle makes back to school easier with up to $275 in value. That's a whole pile of takeout.
Introducing SaskTel Student Saving Tips. Tip number 138. You could build your own pallet furniture.
So you're living on your own. You gotta save money by building furniture with pallets.
Or get Infinite 150 for only $50 a month with SaskTel Student Deals.
Increase your home comfort with high-efficiency natural gas equipment. Sask Energy offers rebates so you can lower your energy use and save money. For a list of rebates, contact a participating network member or visit saskenergy.com.
Original 16. Celebrate things done well.
All right, we're throwing a little bit of an audible at you here because we are at Capital Auto Mall, and it's a work day for everybody here, and Jay is working. General Manager Jay is working. He's actually doing his job, which is great. Selling cars, moving stuff, so we're good. We're going to move on to, we're going to get to our third segment, what we would have done in our third segment, which is Players of the Week and our fantasy draft update. So we'll get to the fantasy draft next, but we're going to start with Players of the Week. So let's hit that now. We're going to bring in the beautiful graphic work done by our friends at IKS Media. Love that. So we're going to start with the SGU MVP of the week, and man, this guy just keeps firing on all cylinders. Keenan Ingram of the Yorkton Terriers. He has 11 goals in 6 games in 2025, guys. He's now leading the league in points. He was not before the start of this week. He is now. Keenan Ingram is on fire lately. Good job there for the Yorkton Terriers. The Borgo forward of the week is Jerome Maharaj of the Weyburn Red Wings. Whereas Keenan Ingram is scoring goals, Jerome is setting them all up, and he's got points in 24 of 28 games this season. He's only got 4 games this season without a point. Pretty impressive stuff. We knew that he would be an impressive player this year, but I don't know if we knew he'd be this impressive. Fantastic stuff from Jerome. The Super U defenseman of the week, sticking with the Weyburn Red Wings, Max Chakrabarty. 3 assists in 2 games this week. He has 7 points in his last 6 games, and he just continues to produce from the blue line on that Weyburn Red Wings roster. So good job there for Max. Multiple times winner this year so far. The SaskTel goalie of the week, couple options. Again, sorry to the Kindersley Clippers and Cody Jamin, but Matthew Keeper gets it this week. He was 2-0 this week with a .949 save percentage, 150 goals against. He made 56 saves over 2 games against Humboldt. So a great performance there from Matthew Keeper. He keeps putting up the award performances this year so far as well since getting to Flin Flon. The IKS Media Rookie of the Week. We're going to Kindersley. There we go, Kindersley. Avery Johnson. He had 2 goals and 2 assists this week in 3 games. He's got points in 4 of his last 5 games. Avery Johnson is a very impressive player. Look for him to put up some huge points the rest of the way and going forward in the SJHL. And finally, the Cantera Seeds Saskatchewan Player of the Week goes back to Yorkton. It's Tate Schofer. He had 5 points in 3 games this week. He had a 4-point night against Battlefords, and he's a very important player for Yorkton going forward. Obviously, you see that A on his jersey, part of the leadership group there. So Tate Schofer, love that. Love to see that. Now, gentlemen, we are moving in to our fantasy draft update. Now, as we mentioned a few weeks ago, basically 3 of the 4 teams lost players due to whatever reason, whether it was trade or anything else. So we're going to start our draft by replacing the players that we have lost. Rory, you lost Carter Anderson first, so you're actually going to get the first overall pick in the replacement draft. How this is going to work is we're going to let you keep Carter Anderson's points that he did get while he was with Flin Flon, and then you're going to get a player whose points from here on out will count towards your point total.
So whatever he has currently,
doesn't matter.
Okay.
So it's just going to be from here on, we'll add those. Then after we're done this round, which you have a pick, I have 2, the crew has 1 pick. Actually, you have 2 picks.
Yeah.
You have the first and the last pick. The crew has 1 to replace Caden Drury. I have 1 for Ryan Rothke and Gabriel Filion, and then you have 1 to replace Edward Gauthier, the goaltender.
And Nugsy, just a smart little cookie over there, has a team with everyone still in the SJHL.
And I'm 26 points in first place.
He is in first place. He's just got to sit and wait for the supplemental draft.
And then
this
the
is
supplemental
compensatory draft.
Yeah, round 2, we're just going to add 2 players each. Point totals fully added from here on to the start of the season, fully added. 2 completely new players to the roster, 1 forward, 1 defenseman, or goalie. That's how it's going to work. So it'll be 2 rounds for that one. But we'll start with the compensatory. I'm calling it compensatory or replacement draft round. So we'll start with Rory. You have 1 pick to replace your first round pick in the draft, Carter Anderson. So go for it. Uh-oh. Bryce is pumped.
Do we have the standings graphic available on the show
draft.
or
yes.
no?
Yes, it should come up actually, the fantasy. There it is.
Okay.
So Finding Rory, your team is
last place.
Last place.
Very much acceptable at this turn. We're going to turn it around and keep swimming. This one needs no explanation. Ethan DK, I'll just take him before anyone else does. Yeah. I don't get his 43 points, but I don't really expect that to slow down. So to replace Carter Anderson, I'll take Ethan DK.
There we go. Bryce, if you can bring yourself in, you have your replacement pick now. It's his 2nd overall pick in this portion of the draft. Who do you want to go with?
We're going to go with Jackson Ruthman, the other half of that line in Weyburn, with DK and Maharaj.
Very
good. It was
good.
a tough call, man, because the person you're going to
Very
take
good.
is also somebody I really wanted. So I don't know. It was a tough
Well,
call.
how do you know who I'm going to take? You don't know who I'm going to take.
That's all right.
We even talked about this.
Well, it was either him.
So I have two now.
Do you want me to tell you who I was going to do the toss-up with?
Don't say anything. Don't say anything.
All right, you go ahead.
Don't say anything. Wait till after I make mine, because I don't want you to influence my picks at all. Not that it would hurt. I probably could use a little influence. But I have two now. So I have two forwards to replace. I'm going to go with two forwards. I'm going to go with Leighton Carruthers from Flin Flon. I'm going to go with Zach Summers from Melfort. Both guys are available, and both guys I anticipate will have very huge back halves of the season. So I'll go with those are my two picks. Leighton Carruthers will replace Ryan Rothke. Zach Summers will replace Gabriel Filion.
Okay, so just me.
You
I
have
just got to replace a goalie.
You have to pick a goalie for this one.
Okay.
Though. Yeah.
And I know people would be like, oh, he gets to have the first pick and then replace the goalie, and Matthew Keeper, Angelo Zoe, all these guys available. But I'm just gonna, no one can naysay this. I'm just gonna stick with Humboldt.
Yeah.
Right. I lost the Humboldt goaltender. I'll take the Humboldt goaltender. Dazza Mitchell, and no one can complain like I'm jumping into a different team with more wins and more wins.
Hey,
what? Mitchell.
Can't take Dazza Mitchell.
Mitchell's gone.
He's in the shadow.
No, we can take Team Shadow.
No faith there. If you have them, I can take a different goalie.
We can take Team Shadow. We can take.
Would you like a trade, an on-air trade? I'll take Matthew Keeper, and I will trade him to you for Dazza Mitchell.
Yeah, there you go.
There you go.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah. So just for reference, if anyone's like, what are we talking about here? Jacob Faith, our director of marketing, after our first draft, actually picked his own team, and Dazza Mitchell was on that team.
Yeah.
So we had to make an on-air trade here.
Do me and Jacob get $1,000 off our trade in here at Capital Automobile because we did a trade in the showroom?
Jacob gets $1,000.
That's how I heard him start. Yeah,
he mentioned the SJHL, and he got a great deal.
Okay, good deal. Good deal, Faither. You got it.
So now we're moving on to the second round. We are completed. Our first round is completed. So we'll move on to the second round. We're going to start with you, Rory, because we're going reverse order of standings on that fantasy standings we just showed you guys. So this is any player, really, and you get their full point total added to your team as well as any points going forward. So Rory, go ahead. You can pick a forward or a defenseman or goalie, but we both have to pick one of the other. We can't pick two forwards here, is what I'm saying. So it's Rory, then it's Bryce, then it's me, then it's Jamie for the first round. So go ahead, Rory, for the first pick.
Man, this is the hardest pick between two guys. I will take, I got a lot of them already. I got a lot of them. I don't need any more of them. Let's just load up on one side. I don't think he's taken yet, has he?
I don't know.
Well, you haven't said the name yet.
Liam Hunks?
Oh, no.
Wow, you're taking your defenseman
I'm going to go defenseman first, and I'll take Liam Hunks.
I don't want it.
Fantastic.
I know.
Dang it. But I knew I wasn't going to. Probably going to. Anyway.
Okay. So I guess we're going to the control room here. It's going to be Bryce's pick next. So Bryce, where are you going to go with your selection?
There are so many good choices right now. It's hard. It's tough. But we got to take another D man. We got to go with Max Chakrabarty. Take the D.
Nice.
It was my other decision.
Very good pick.
I can't hear anything.
He took Max Chakrabarty.
Oh.
Yeah.
Both D-men gone.
Yeah.
Good.
Now, I just have to do a little bit of research on my pick because I just want to make sure this guy isn't selected already. But I think I'm going to go with my first pick, I'm going to go with my forward. I'll go with David Coyle. He wasn't selected.
Not on Team Shadow, right?
Not on Team Shadow or anything.
Good.
I didn't have to make a trade. So David Coyle is getting added to my roster.
Yeah, there's no Coyle, yeah.
So there you go. He's 9th in the league scoring right now.
Nugsy, you get 2.
Yeah. Interesting.
I had another one that I was going to go with, and then I realized that nobody had Coyle, so I went with him. But I did have another guy that I was very comfortable taking in that spot, just so everyone's aware.
Well, so I've taken a forward and a D.
Yep.
Yeah. Or a goalie.
Well, you know what? Whatever. I mean, I might as well be able to, kibitz it up with the guy. I'm going to go with Marko Djordjevic.
Yeah, fantastic pick.
Why not?
He is 15th in league scoring right now.
Yes.
Kind of 14th if you look at it, depending on how you look at it.
Yeah.
So, Jamie, you actually have back-to-backs here, so you go ahead with your defense/goalie selection now.
Yes.
Yes.
The defense.
The answer is yes.
/goalie, since you guys keep taking my ideas here. Well, I can't believe that this guy's not taken, and we should all be ashamed of ourselves.
We should.
Probably.
I think I know who you're going to pick here.
But Mr. Luke Lepper, Welcome to Team Noogstradamus. If I can't get Hunksy, I'll get your teammate, Mr. Leopard.
He's not taken.
No, isn't that weird?
That's bad. That's bad.
We're bad at our job.
Yeah,
Well, in fairness, we have such a small amount of defensemen that can be selected, so it is a tough one.
Yeah.
Is it me now? I'm going to go with, I think this guy's going to get a ton of opportunity going forward. I just make sure he's not selected first, but I'm pretty sure I can take him. I'm going to go Ryland Silzer from L'Orange. I'm going to take Ryland Silzer off the board.
Okay.
Crew, I think you're up in the back there.
Yeah, so I got a forward I got to take, right?
Oh, there he is.
Yeah, you got to take a forward, yep.
Oh, man. Cool. Man, they're all gone. I need a second.
There's some good ones still here, Bryce.
I know
There's some good ones.
Hold on, I got to consult Kelly here.
A little bit of consulting is going on behind the scenes, absolutely, for sure. Now, I'll just say this, and you guys can take this pick if you want, because Rory, you're left, and who did you take again?
I took a defenseman.
You took a defenseman, so you have a forward, but there's lots. The one guy I was going to take was Ashton Hutchinson from Melfort. I was going to pair him with Zach Summers. That was going to be my little pairing.
So that was who I was
he's
debating.
a very good player.
I'm ready to make a pick.
Yeah. Do it.
Yeah. Ashton Hutchinson. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, there's one more player we were
26 points in 27 games.
Yeah, it was between him and Moores. Sorry to talk over you. But
Kent Morris. Yeah, there you go.
Kai Banash also out there.
For sure. And tons of guys. Ewan Rennie's out
available?
there. Cole Thomas is out there. Anthony Campbell's available.
Yeah, he's available.
Yeah, okay. Not on a shadow team, right?
Yeah, he's available.
Carter Anderson from Nipawin's available.
Okay. It's on me now?
Zach Anderson from Kindersley's available.
It's on me?
You're up.
Why are you giving him pickup? He doesn't need this.
He has available. He has all the numbers available.
I got it here. I already know who I'm going to take. He's got a flashy new line mate, potentially. I'm assuming that's where he's going to slot in. And Zach Anderson off Kindersley.
Off Kindersley. There you go.
It's a great pick.
And I did just mention him, Noogsy, so sorry about that. But he was going to take him anyways.
He literally pointed at a phone and he's like, "Is this guy still available?" And I was like, "Yeah, it's a good pick." Like,
so there you go. We have completed the replacement. We've completed everything. We're already done. That was quick. I honestly thought that was going to take a little longer.
Who was IKS's second pick?
Tell Jamie he's not allowed to complain
okay.
about anything with hiding his info about Maharaj.
I can't hear.
I know he's saying something. Yeah, you're not allowed to complain, Noogsy, because you picked Jerome Maharaj knowing he was coming back to the league and nobody else did.
You hid the information.
You hid the information. They're saying it's insider trading. Anyways, that's
I call it hard working.
That's our segment. We've finished. We'll put out a new roster sheet coming out of this now that we've done this. Kelly, since you're listening, get to work. Put together a new roster graphic for us. And I think that was really good additions, and I'm glad we were able to add more players to this because it's always fun getting more players involved. From hearing what we hear from these players, they like being picked and being a part of it. So I think that's fantastic. We're going to take another break, and I think when we come back, we're either going to have Jacob Faith joining us or we're going to have Jay Paul, General Manager of Capital GMC with Capital Automall. So stick around, and when we come back, we'll have one more segment for you to wrap the show up. Thanks for sticking with us, everybody. See you after the break.
The Chevrolet Silverado 1500. Advanced power and capability to tackle the long hauls. Style to make a statement on the streets. Visit ChevroletOffers.ca to learn more.
Each year, the SCSA issues over 10,000 training certificates to the construction professionals who build our province. That is the same population as Weyburn. Learn more at scsaonline.ca.
When you buy a lottery ticket in Saskatchewan, your money really goes a long way. More than 12,000 sport, culture, and recreation groups receive funding from Sask Lotteries every year. Everyone wins.
My name is Kyle McIntyre, and I'm the commissioner of the SJHL. We have 12 teams spread out all over this amazing province. 12 teams that hit the road for a combined 324 season games. We take hockey players, we make them better. We make them better at hockey and better at life. That's what the SJHL is all about. We have a great league, we have great teams, great ownership, the best fans, the best partners, and the best sponsors.
Sask Energy Network members are the best choice for natural gas solutions for your home or business. With comprehensive services like heating equipment maintenance, appliance installation, and in-store financing, they have natural gas solutions that go beyond heating to bring you the comfort, efficiency, and reliability of natural gas, both indoors and outdoors, all year long. For whole home natural gas solutions, network members burn brighter.
Introducing SaskTel Student Saving Tips. Tip number 236. You could dye your own hair. Or you could save up to $20 a month on a new wireless plan with SaskTel Student Deals.
Enjoying what's around you. That's what it's all about. Farm to table, in season, locally foraged, look out the window and that's exactly what you'll see on your plate. It's the kind of experience that you'll compare everything else to for years to come. And it's so close, you can almost taste it. Indulge in our unlimited lakes and parkland. Saskatchewan.
Original 16. Celebrate things done well.
All right, welcome back inside the beautiful showroom at Capital GMC, Capital Auto Mall, proud sponsors of the SJHL. Lots going on, and to sum it all up and to get into it, we're now joined by the general manager of Capital GMC here, Jay Paul. Jay, thanks for joining us. We were gonna bring you on earlier, and you were busy. You're doing work. I mean, that's the best part of the day is we're interrupting your work day. There's lots going on here. It's an exciting showroom. There's lots of beautiful cars. Can you talk about Capital GMC a little bit?
Yeah, Capital GMC. We have a lot of inventory here. You know, we're a staple in the community. Bruce Axelson, the president, and he's since passed away in the last few years, started Capital in 1992. Yep. So it's grown into this big thing where we have 11 dealerships now, and you know, it's a fun place to work, and our culture here is awesome. And there's, you know, we employ over 500 people in Regina.
And including one of our employees, Kelly Lewick, used to work here.
Kelly Lewick, yes.
Yeah, you don't have to say anything about him. He doesn't need his ego pumped any more than it already is. So.
Well, he told me he was a good goalie. So.
Yeah, well, that's a lie. Just kidding, Kelly. Sorry, he's going to shut us down. No, we're good. Can you talk to us a little bit, Jay? You mentioned the inventory that you have right now. It's an impressive showroom to start with, and then a huge plot of land here with just a ton of stuff going on. What do you got in stock right now?
There's over 200 used vehicles in stock. We try to keep over 200 at all times, which is probably, you know, half as much as we used to have before COVID, but things are a little tougher to get now. So to have 200 used vehicles here is really good for the community and for the customer. And, you know, new vehicles, they keep flowing pretty good. So we have 200, 225 in stock and 300 coming or something. So there's a lot.
Well, there you go.
Springtime hits, it's packed in here. It's tough to find a place to park, but we do our best.
That's great. Now, we have people from all over Saskatchewan tuned in right now. We have people from Battlefords, Melfort, up in Nipawin, Larange, Flin Flon, and out of province, I guess, but still, they love the province. How wide is your reach? And if people want to get involved with Capital Auto Mall, where do they need to? Where's the hub? Is everything here?
The hub is in Regina.
Yeah.
We do have some dealerships in Alberta and Manitoba, and one in the U.S. But you know, Regina is the hub. And you know, the community, and you see people from all over Saskatchewan coming to Regina to buy vehicles all the time. So it's interesting to see that you'll get somebody from, 3-4 hours away coming to Regina to buy a vehicle just because we have the inventory. So, it's fun to see. And, the staff likes it too, and sometimes we're even taking it out there, right?
Right, yeah, for sure. And I mean, lots of families from Regina and area that play in the league, a lot of parents and stuff. So come on down. We got some toques, actually. Rory, can you come out here? We got Rory McGoran actually in the truck behind us. I don't know if you could see him back there. We got these toques. He's going to model the toque because he's got a toque. He's a toque-wearing fiend.
It's a comfy toque, isn't it?
There you go. Beautiful toque. Capital Automall on there. Love it. Thank you, Rory.
Beautiful toque, beautiful truck.
Yeah.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Get back in the truck now, Rory.
Driver's side, though.
Oh, you're going to the driver's side. Okay, perfect. Thank you, Rory. And thank you for the gear. Jay, can you talk to us? You have a huge giveaway going on.
We have a huge giveaway. We started this last year. It's called the 100K giveaway, where the entire auto group, the 10 stores in Canada, give away $100,000. So what we do, it's free to enter. You can go online to our website at capitalgmc.ca. You enter there free. We pick 100 finalists at the end. March 31st is the last day. We bring 100 people into the showroom on April 12th, and we give away a lot of cash and prizes. It's pretty fun. It gets the place packed, which is what I like to see. Doesn't mean we sell a ton of cars, but it's nice to see all the people come in, and they know where to go when they do need a car the next time they come, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Jacob, my birthday is in April. Do you want to sign me up for that giveaway? Thank you, Jacob.
There you go.
So there's another thing you got going on. You could win maintenance for 2 years. Is that correct? Can you talk about that?
Yeah, so every time our service department's super busy here, so every time somebody comes in for an oil change, they're entered to win free service for 2 years, where your oil changes and your tire rotations are covered for 2 years. It's a cool program. We've done that for a couple of years now too, and it's just another reason to come here, right?
Yeah. Well, another reason to come here, and we talk about this on a bi-weekly basis, twice a week we talk about this, but $1,000 trade-in bonus if you mention the SJHL at any of the Capital Automall locations.
Absolutely.
But on top of that, there's another trade-in bonus special going on right now.
Yeah, the trade-in bonus that is for the month of January, $2,500 trade-in bonus. The U.S. dollar shifted again, so we're seeing a lot of vehicles getting exported to the U.S., so we're able to do that on a lot of different vehicles. So, for the entire month of January, $2,500 trade-in bonus. Plus, if you mention the SJHL, $1,000.
So $3,500 we're talking. So if you're looking to trade in and upgrade, now is the time, and there's a ton of options for you to do so. Speaking of one of the options, can you talk about this 2025 GMC Sierra Crew Cab Graphite Edition 4x4?
We've brought that. We brought a bunch of them in, and you've got it down.
I memorized it.
Clark's got it.
Yeah. I'm looking for a job. If anyone, I'm not. But
maybe down the road.
Yeah, down the road.
We brought a bunch of these Graphite Edition Crew Cab 4x4 Sierras in because they lease out really good. So a customer can do a 2-year lease for $299 bi-weekly plus tax with $2,000 down. It's a great promotion. You're under warranty the whole time, and I think we probably have 20 of them here ready to go.
Yeah.
So.
Well, perfect. Well, there's a lot of options for you. Jay, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you.
Appreciate the gear. Rory's going to take that truck home with him at the end of this show.
I'm sure we're going to make Rory a deal.
He's thinking about it. So anyways, appreciate your time, and thank you for obviously being a partner.
I'm so happy you guys came and did this today. It was cool to see. There's a lot of people involved in it too that, in the background, there's a lot of you standing there setting up and making sure it's good, and watching it online, it looked awesome. So.
Well, yeah, this showroom is hard not to make something look good. And this is a great showroom, and if you're looking for a vehicle, like I said, this is the place to come and get it going. So Jay, thanks again for joining us today.
Appreciate it.
I'm going to wrap up the show here now, just so Jamie's off to the side and he's dreaming about the truck. So thank you for joining us today. Obviously, it's a big show, lots going on, a longer episode today. So thank you for hanging on with us, especially the guys in the back at the studio who were able to hang on with us. There is a couple of games coming up in the next couple of days. So if we can have a look at tomorrow's schedule, there is one game tomorrow night. That's Fridays, you guys. We're looking at Tuesdays, the upcoming schedule. They'll get it. There we go. So Larange is visiting the Weyburn Red Wings, obviously at Crescent Point Place, so that's going to be a big one. Both teams can move up in the standings with a win in these games, so both teams are going to be hungry for a W. And then on Wednesday, 3 games on Wednesday night, and those are, they're coming, I promise. They're coming. There we go. Larange is moving across the highway to Estevan. Kindersley's going to be in Melfort. That's going to be a huge game. 2 of the hottest teams in the league right now. And Humboldt's going to be in Notre Dame. I might actually make an appearance at that one. So, Nugsy, warm up the color commentator headset. I might come with you there for that game. That should be a fun one. And I get to see Rory as well. So this should be a fun one. But there's 4 games coming up. And on Thursday, we have a big announcement. Obviously, we're releasing the SJHL, MJHL showcase rosters. So on SJHL Insider on Thursday, you're going to want to tune in because we're going to release the entire roster for the showcase. Until then, thank you to all of our sponsors, of course, especially here at Capital Auto Mall, Capital GMC, for sponsoring the show today. But of course, also Cantera Seeds, Borgo, Sask Lotteries, Chevrolet, Saskatchewan Construction Safety Association, Nutrien, Sask Energy, Sask Tourism, UPL, SGEU, Great Western, SGI, and RBC. All of our social media channels, make sure you subscribe and follow all of those. And until we see you again on Thursday, get out to the rinks, enjoy the hockey, everyone, and thanks for tuning in today. For everyone here at IKS, for Rory and Jamie, for Jordan and Rolf and Jacob and Bryce and Ryan and everybody in the back, thanks for tuning in, and we'll talk to you guys again on Thursday. Bye for now.